Okay, so we did R1 and R2 yesterday. We're going to do R3 today, and that's going to be on the test. All right. Again, like I said earlier, all the problems look exactly the same kind of questions. The numbers are going to be different, though. All right. So you can't just go through those quizzes and memorize all the answers and just write down the answers, because you're not going to get them right, because every single one of them is different on the test. Everybody got it? Yeah. All right. So let's do these right here. It says the lengths of the legs of a right triangle are given. Find the hypotenuse. Well, we use something. What do we use? A squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is the what? Pythagorean theorem. So let's write that down. Let's make this a little smaller. All right, so it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And they tell you exactly, they even tell you right here, that a is 3, the b is 4. What I need to do is find the what? Find the c. So let's plug them in and see what we can do. Ready? So it's a squared. What is the a? It's 3. So we square it. Plus, right, we use this formula right here. B squared, the b is 4, and you square that. And that's going to equal c squared. So everything's just plugging it in, right? And now we just work it out. That's 9. What's 4 squared? 16. And that equals c squared. 9 plus 16 is 25 equals c squared. Now, is the third side 25? No, because that's c squared. How do I get rid of that c squared? Yes. Okay, how do you find c squared? Or how do you find c? Square root it, right. Square root both of these sides, and then this comes out nice and even. What is the square root of 25? It's 5. I don't know if on the quiz anybody left it square root of 25 or not. Anybody brave enough to tell me? Anyway, if you leave it the square root of 25, I'm going to mark it wrong. Why? Well, it is the answer. But what didn't you do to the answer? You didn't simplify it. That's right. So you gotta leave it like this. This is the only for this particular problem. That's the only acceptable answer. Okay. So if you can take the square root and it comes out to a nice even number, you with me on that? When I say even, I don't mean 2, 4, 6, 8. I just mean it's an integer number. Okay. It's a whole number. If it comes out to a whole number, then you need to take the square root of it. What if you did some work and it was like the square root of 24? Does the square root of 24 come out to a nice whole number? No, it doesn't. All right, so I would just leave it the square root of 24. You with me? Don't put it into a calculator and give me some decimal number. Don't want it. You got it? All right, let's take a look at this one. Can you take the square root of it? Okay, then you do it. If you can take the square root of it and it comes out to a whole number, then you got to do it. Everybody here? All right, let's do this one. Ready? Again, we're putting it into this right here. So a squared, that's 5 squared. Girls, I just hear mumbling. Stop. Let's pay attention. 5 squared plus 12 squared equals what? C squared, just like we did right here. It's the same exact style of problem. All right? 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. That equals c squared. 25 and 144, what's that? 6 and 9, 169, just like you said. And then you take the square root. Can you take the square root of 169? Yeah, if you didn't know off the top of your head if you could take the square root of 169, what do? Put it in the calculator and see if it comes out. So here's the square root of 169. Yep, comes out to 13. Does every single square root come out to a nice whole number like that did? No, these are special kinds, all right? These are special types that actually do come out. There possibly could be, listen to me, there possibly could be, let me write this down, one that comes out something like this, the square root of 24, or the square root of, I don't know, I'm just making something up, 71. Just making numbers up. You guys watching, right? Are you going to be able to sit next to each other, you two? I don't know if it's going to work. Both of you, because your head, I see the back of your head more, I see the front of your face.
Okay.
All right, so what I was trying to say is that you might get something that looks something like this. If I put the square root of 71 into a calculator, I'm going to get some decimal answer. It's not going to come out to a whole number. And that's fine. You can get an answer that looks like that. But don't put it into a calculator and give me a decimal. Just circle it and leave it like that. All right? I just made up 71, okay? I don't think on the actual test it comes out to square root of 71, but it could come out to something that doesn't come out to a nice whole number when you take the square root of it. So just leave it like this. Right? Okay.
So you don't want that.
Don't want what? Right. I don't want don't want any decimals for that. All right, let's do this. It says the length of the sides are given, determine if it's a right triangle or not. Here's how we decide if it's a right triangle. It's the same formula. If a squared plus b squared, if it comes out to equaling c squared, then it's a right triangle. If they don't equal each other, then it's not a right triangle. And that's all you got to say. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Don't just say yes it is, no it's not, because of this right there. And I say that on the test as well. Show me why. If you just say yes and that's it, I'm marking it wrong. Even though that's the right answer, I'm marking it wrong. Why? Didn't show my work, right? Okay, I got to show why. So let's do it. Now, the A and the B are always the smaller of the three numbers, okay? The C is always the biggest number. It may not be in order. These are in order, right? These are the two smallest ones, that's the biggest one. These are the two smallest ones, that's the biggest one. It doesn't necessarily have to be true that I write them in order from smallest to largest. So you take the two smaller ones, that's your A and your B. It doesn't matter that the 6 is the A or the B. It does matter that 10 is the what? Is the C. All right, so here we go. 6 squared plus 8 squared. Now I don't know right now until I do the math if they're equal to each other. So I'm going to put a question mark. Is that all right? So let's do this. 6 squared is 36 plus 8 squared is 64. What's 10 squared? That's 100. Okay, still haven't done the math yet, but 36 and 64 is 100. And what do I know about 100 and 100? They're equal to each other. So what kind of a triangle is this? This is a right triangle. I'll just put that. So technically that's your answer, but if that's the only thing that you wrote and you didn't show me this stuff right there, I'm not giving you credit for it. What about this one? Let's see if that works. 4 squared plus 5 squared, does it equal 6 squared? Let's do it. 16 plus 25. What's 16 plus 25? I think that's 41. That's 36. Does 41 equal 36? Of course not. All right, so this is what? It's not a right triangle. And that is your answer. This is the why. All that stuff right there is show why. That's your answer. I got to see both of those things. All right. Now, for this, I thought, naively, I thought 5 through 6 would be the easiest part of this quiz. But it seems like for those who didn't do well on this, 5 through 10 was the worst part of this quiz. So let's go through it again. Are you ready? Here we go. The area of a rectangle. You have to know the formula for the area of a rectangle. Let's write it down. Area of a rectangle is what? Length times width. Okay? Look, they tell you the length, they tell you the width. So what do you do to those two numbers? You just multiply them together. That's all you do. So it's 4 inches, right? Times, I'll put it in parentheses, is that all right? 2 inches, which is what? 8. Don't just put an 8 and circle it. Some of you guys did. And you're fortunate because I didn't take a point off if you did this. But it's inches times inches. And it's not just inches, it's inches what? Inches squared. Area is always inches squared. So that should be your answer right there. I'm seriously considering marking it wrong if you don't put inches squared. Everybody should be able to do that. Everybody. Okay? Area is always squared. Circumference. Is circumference squared? No. It's just feet. Your answer would just be in feet. Area of a triangle. Is that squared? Yes. Area of a circle. Is that squared? Yes. Any area is always squared. What about volume? Volume is cubed. So your answer would be centimeters what? Cubed. This volume right there would be inches what? Cubed. Okay? I've been saying this over and over and over again, and some of you guys are just not writing it down. I don't think I said on here you must give the units or something like that. I probably should have, because then I could say, well, you didn't give me the units. It says right there, give me the units, and you didn't. So I'm marking it wrong. Okay. Area of a triangle. You got to know the area of a triangle. What is it? Base times height divided by 2. Okay? Or you could put 1/2 in front, 1/2 the base times the height. It's the same thing. Right? Look at this. They tell you the base, don't they? What's the base? It's 4, and it's centimeters, right? Times the height. They tell you the height. 9 centimeters. But then what do you have to do to it? You have to divide it by 2. I remember at least 1 or 2 people not dividing by 2. It's a triangle. Triangle, you have to divide by 2. 4 times 9 is 36. Divided by 2 is 18. What are your units? Centimeters squared. That's all there is to it. Circumference. Look, I made this really easy. You don't even need a calculator to do this. Well, you didn't need a calculator to do those other two, did you? All right, you should be able to do that. Circumference. You got to know the formula. That's the hard part. It's not even that hard. But number 7, you got to find the circumference. So you got to know the formula. What is the formula for circumference? 2 pi r. That's right. And I'm going to use 2 pi r because they give me the radius. What's another formula for circumference that we learned? Pi times the diameter. But they don't give you the diameter, do they? So use the one with the r in it. Use the 2 pi r. You with me? What would the diameter be? It'd be 10. So you could use that if you wanted to. But they give you the radius. Use this one. Watch how easy this is. It's 2 times pi. Don't leave pi out. I saw some people not putting the pi in there. Right? I saw some people writing the formula out with the pi, and then they plugged the stuff in and they didn't include the pi. Right? Pi is a number. What is it? 3.14. But remember what I said? You don't even have to use 3.14. You could keep pi in the answer. All right? So it's 2 times pi times what? The radius. What's the radius? It's 5. And that's 5 what? Feet. So what do we multiply? I can multiply the 2 to the 5. What's 2 times 5? It's 10. 10 what? Pi. Don't forget the pi. So that's your answer, but what are your units? It's just feet. Is it feet squared? No. Circumference is just the distance around the thing. It's just how many feet, right, to walk around a circle. That's your answer right there. If you wanted to, you could go 10 times 3.14, right? And you should be able to do that in your head. What's 10 times 3.14? 31.4 feet. If you feel better about writing it like that, technically that's squiggly equals. Why is it squiggle equals? It's approximately, because pi is not exactly 3.14, okay? But this right here is an actual equals. That's pi. That includes all the decimals for what pi is, okay? I would, if I were you, I would just leave it like that, don't you think? Just saves you one more little step, saves you from making a mistake from going from here to here. I would just keep it 10 pi feet. Now, again, the numbers are going to be different, right? I'm not going to give you the radius as 5. I'll pick some other number, all right? But it shouldn't be that hard. It's just 2 times whatever that radius is, right? Okay. What about the area? That was circumference. That was the distance around a circle. What about the area? Area is how many squares can you fit inside the circle, right? So it's pi. Anytime you have circle, you're always going to use pi. You realize that? Anytime you have a circle, you're using pi. Pi what? r squared. You got to know the difference between the circumference and the area of a circle. That's up to you. There's nothing I can do for you. I've done it already, okay? Showed you what they are. I told you had to memorize them a long time ago, so make sure you do. All right, let's do it. So you can just write pi. You don't even have to write it 3.14 times the radius. What's the radius on this one? 2 millimeters. And then what do we do to that? We square it. That's right. I can keep the pi just pi. What's 2 squared? It's 4. Let's put the 4 out in front. Is that all right? Looks better to put the regular number out in front of the pi. And then it's what? Millimeters squared, because we're squaring the millimeters. You can just keep it like that if you want. Perfectly fine. If you wanted to put that into a calculator, put that as 3.14, you get 12.56, but you don't have to have them both. That's millimeters squared. I don't know, some people like the decimal. You can keep it like this. For a high school math class, it's perfectly fine to keep it 4 pi. That's what I would do. Didn't even need a calculator. To get this, you probably needed a calculator. Would you agree? Probably. Some people might be able to do that in their head, but most of you will probably need a calculator to get to that, so just leave it like this. It's fine. All right, 2 more and we're done. Volume of a sphere. Okay, a sphere is like a ball, right? Basketball, soccer ball, something like that. And we want to find out how many cubes can you fit inside that ball. That's what you're doing when you're finding the sphere, or the volume of the sphere. This is the weird one, right? But it's really not that long. But it does have a weird number you're not used to. What is that weird number? 4/3, that's right. So 4/3. Times what? It's pi r. It's not squared this time, is it? It's cubed because it's volume. It's pi r cubed with a little 4/3 in front of it. You got to memorize it, okay? You got to memorize that. All right, let's put it in. If you wanted to, here's another way to write it. You could write it 4 pi r cubed, what? Over 3. If you like that better, you can write it like that. It's the same exact thing. Might be easier to do it like this. So let's put some numbers in. Well, 4, then pi, then the radius. What's the radius? It's 4. What do we have to do to that 4, though? We got to cube it over what? 3. So let's work this out. 4 cubed. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. All right? 64 times 4 is 256. Now, you may or may not be able to do that in your head or write it down, but I'm letting you use a calculator. So use a calculator and put that in there. All right? So 4 cubed times 4 is 256. All right? Everybody see that? So I'm done multiplying that and that. What am I left with on the top? A pi. What's on the bottom? A 3. Does a 3 go into 256? You know an easy, quick little cheat to see if 3 divides into a number? What is the cheat? You got it. So let's add up the digits. 2 and 5 is 7. 7 and 6 is 13. Does 3 divide into 13? No, so 3 does not divide into 256. Yep. Yep, that's how you know. That's how you know if 3 goes into a number. 2,756. Well, add them up. That's what? 9. That's 11. That's 12. That's 20. Does 3 go into 20? No. What if that was 57? Add them up. Right? 5 and 7 is 13, and 9. That's what? Did I do that right? Oh yeah, taking the 6 out. Sorry. That's a 12, right? So that's a 12, and that's a 9. That's 21. Does 3 divide into 21? Yes. So 3 divides into that number right there. Just works. Don't know how it works, but it just works. So anyway, that's kind of a little cheat code for you, right, on dividing by 3. Or you could have just stuck that in your calculator, right? Put 256 divided by 3. If it doesn't come out even, just leave it like this. I'm perfectly fine. Don't forget this, though. What would that be? Centimeters cubed. That's a perfectly fine answer. I'm okay with that. If you wanted to, you could go 256 times 3.14 divide it by 3, and you get 267.9. And that would be what? Centimeters cubed. But why bother? Why bother putting that into a calculator? Would you agree? Yeah, just leave it like that. I'm okay with that. One more and we'll be done. Here's another one you got to memorize. The volume of a right circular cylinder. Remember the right circular cylinder. What's the bottom of a right circular cylinder? It's a circle. What's the area of a circle? Pi r squared. And the sides go straight up, don't they? All right, that would be the height. So it's just the area of the bottom circle times the height. So what is the volume then? Pi r squared, that's the area of the circle on the bottom, times the height. It's as easy as that. So that's the easy volume to remember. This one's a little more complicated, but we've done it so many times, haven't we? The 4/3 thing, that should just click because we've talked about it quite a bit. So you got to have those memorized. If you don't have those memorized, you don't have a shot at it. You just don't, all right? And I told you many, many times when we did this lesson that you have to memorize these things, all right? Let's put some stuff in. Put the pi, just leave it pi right now, and then let's put the r in. What's the r? It's the radius, it's 9. What do we have to do to that 9? We got to square it. And then we got to multiply it by the height. What's the height? It's 8. You can do this in a calculator if you wanted to. 9 squared is 81. 81 times 8 is 648. You could do that in your head, couldn't you? Yep, 81, because 8 times 8 is 64, right? 8 times 1 is 8, so 648, yeah? But 648 what? Pi. And it's inches what? Cubed, because it's volume. And there you go. You can leave it just like that. It's perfectly fine. Or if you really got a problem with that, you don't like to leave the pi, you want a decimal number, you could always go 648 times 3.14. Once you do that, I would do that in a calculator. There's no way I could do that in my head. So it's 2034.72. And again, it's inches cubed. And there you go. What? Say that again.
Is there ever a time where you plug pi into something that doesn't have a decimal?
No, it'll always have a decimal. It'll always, because 3.14159, blah, 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 it just keeps on going forever. Anytime you multiply something by pi in your calculator, you'll always get a decimal. Okay? All right, well, you got 2 videos to look at. You got yesterday's, everybody listening? You got yesterday's video covering R1 and R2, and then you got today's covering R3. If you ace these 3 quizzes, and that's what I would do if I were you. I would take these quizzes, right, and write down the problem or something, or go to this video, right, before I did all the writing, okay, and then just try them, all right? Try it before I actually do it. See if you get the right answer. And then on YouTube, right, just take that little bar at the bottom, right, just scan across until I get to the answer. You don't have to sit there and watch the whole, however long this video was, 20, 30 minutes. You don't have to do that. Just try a problem, scroll until you get to what the answer was. Make sure you're doing them right. This is your only test of the marking period. You understand that, right? It's 100 points. Right now we've only had, listen to me, listen to me. I don't think everybody's listening. I got people packing up, people's heads down. Listen. The test is 100 points. What have we had so far? We've only had 3 quizzes. That's only how many points? 60. All right, so this one test counts more than the 3 quizzes we've had. I don't know how many homeworks we've had. I don't know.
10, probably 10.
At least 10, maybe, right? Let's say 10. Let's say 10. How many points is that? That's 50. So the 50 and the 60, that's 110 points. So the test itself is almost worth everything we've done this whole marking period. Everybody get that? No, tomorrow. You got 2 minutes before class is over. In 2 minutes? I don't think so. 20 problems? No, you're not. You're doing it tomorrow. All right. It's 20 questions. Everybody hear me? Every test is 20 questions. And also, I don't know if we've talked about this. Most of you guys had me before, but we do test corrections. All right? So, Watch. Let's say, listen. Let's say tomorrow you miss, let's say 4 problems, okay? Each problem is worth 5 points. So what would your grade be? It's minus 20, so you would have an 80, okay? But it doesn't have to stop there, because the next day you come in, probably Monday, I'm going to give you the test. It's going to be graded, but all you do is see if it's right or wrong. I don't tell you what you did wrong. I don't put the correct answer next to it, okay? There's just an X or a check mark, okay? So what you do is you come in on Monday, you take the ones that are wrong. You got 4 problems wrong. You only have to do 4 problems. Don't do the ones that are right. They were already right. You don't have to do them again. Just do the ones that were wrong. And let's say you got 3 out of the 4 right the second time around. I give you, watch, so I'll put this on the test. I'll put a +3, and I will give you 3 points for getting it right the second time. I'm not going to give you all 5 points, right, because it's your second time, right? But I will give you 3 points. You got it? And then what does that give you? +9. Then what do I do with that 80 and that 9? I add them up. Oops, 80. It's at 80 plus 9. And what's your grade then? It's an 89. So you went from an 80 to an 89 from your corrections. What if you got all 4 right? Then it's +4 times what? Times 3, which is +12. And then you would have 80 plus 12, which would give you a 92. What if you don't get any right the second time around? And shame on you for that, because, right, you get a second chance. You got a whole weekend to learn how to do the problems you couldn't do, right? It would just stay an 80. So you'd never get below an 80. Make sense? Take points away from who? I probably should. I feel like it when I'm looking at it. Anyway, so that's it. So be ready for the test tomorrow, please.